Hazard pay is back on, baby. It's in the third stimulus check package. $1,500 if you worked during the pandemic and made less than $25,000. And it goes on top of your $1,400 stimulus check. So who's an essential worker? And will that $10,000 of hazard pay from the HEROES Act of 2020 be brought back as well? All these questions are addressed as we throw it back on Overnight's LALATE about hazard pay. Hazard pay is suddenly tied up in a scandal involving the post office. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. This is afternoon's LALATE that starts every day at 3:30 with the check, then goes to hazard pay, then FPUC, and finally rent assistance. Shocking, overwhelmingly, wow, incredible, and bizarre news late today about what's happening with hazard pay and why its future is tied up in a horribly complicated and very elaborate scandal involving Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. Let me get right to the news. Ironically, UPS employees, anyone at the post office, are essential workers. They're entitled to hazard pay. But they aren't getting hazard pay yet because the bill hasn't been approved for it, nor are you. But now the future of the hazard pay bill is getting a sideline because of what's actually happening in the post office. Let me explain what's going on. Hazard pay is part of the second stimulus package. And in the second stimulus package, there's a provision in there for money for the post office. But now Democrats realize that there's a bigger problem ensuing regarding Postmaster General and operations of the post office that they think, this is their allegation, that it could jeopardize the 2020 election and jeopardize the delivery of mail-in ballots back to election officials. What they are now calling for and mulling over, actually mulling over is the better verb, is the recall of congressional leaders back to D.C. to go back into session to have emergency hearings to pass the second stimulus package that involves hazard pay, but more importantly, provides funding and assurances that the Postmaster General operates in a lawful way. Why is this great news, but also what the hell news? It's what the hell news because it's incredibly confusing to follow that suddenly a scandal involving the postmaster is suddenly the anchor to ensure that your stimulus package is approved. No less than a week ago, I sat here and laughed when Fox News said nothing's happening with the second stimulus package until September. And sure enough, we didn't go 24 hours until the president did something about the second stimulus package. But now congressional leaders are mulling over a return on August 24th to get the second stimulus package approved and deal with USPS. Several top Democrats floated the issue of addressing all the second stimulus package, including expired federal unemployment benefits and voting rights. Other Democrats said, no, we should only deal with the post office right away. Other Democrats said, no, let's modify existing legislation that is currently a bill before the House. Others say, let's deal with it in the House Oversight Committee. But as we sit here right today, Nancy Pelosi, after talking with Steny Hoyer and Jim Clyburn out of South Carolina and Carolyn Maloney, they're now discussing whether or not Congress should be recalled back from recess on August 24th, the same day in which there's a congressional hearing and investigation into Inspector DeJoy, in which Chuck Schumer has threatened Inspector DeJoy to appear, or it'll be subpoena du jour. And what would happen at August 24th? What would happen at August 24th is an ensuring by the Democrats that there's enough money for the post office and ensuring their operations are not being modified on the eve of the election. Now, what makes this really confusing, and I tried to describe it in the first video today, and perhaps I describe it better in this one. I'll probably keep on describing it until I exhausted all the angles of it, is that the president first admitted he's doing this. It's not like it's a secret. The president said last week he was blocking $25 billion that Nancy Pelosi has allocated in the second stimulus package for the post office. I mean, he said it. It's not like he's hiding it. Bernie Sanders says the president of the United States, what you're witnessing is the president of the United States is doing everything he can to suppress the vote, make it harder for people to mail in. Then there's Cory Booker says what concerns me is all-out attack, and they're not even hiding it by the president of the United States to undermine the post office, to underfund it, and allow a mega donor leading it to overly do things to slow it down the mail. What is he talking about? First of all, the president did confirm, this is not Cory Booker's spending, the president did confirm he was not agreeing to a $25 billion injection of emergency funds into the post office under the second stimulus package from the Democrats. He said he was not going to agree to it, that the the USPS has enough money. Second, Inspector DeJoy, and that's really his name. I can't say it with a straight face. Inspector DeJoy actually is a big Trump donor prior to becoming the Inspector du jour. And I'm just going to have a lot of fun with that name. And that was then. But as if this story could not even get stranger, the president's team flipped. So after it looked like the president was trying to not support funding for the post office, the chief of staff, Mark Meadows, appeared this morning on This Morning News and said, oh, you know what? I will give you your second stimulus checks right now. Come back, Democrats, to Washington. Come back next week. I'll give you your second stimulus checks right now. And I'll even give you money for the post office. President will give you money for the post office. Whichever made everyone go like this. Well, wait a second. We just heard a few days ago you weren't going to give us money for the post office. He says, I will give you a guarantee right now. The President of the United States is not going to interfere if anybody casting their vote in a legitimate way, whether it's the post office or anything, Mark Meadows said this morning. And then minutes later, he said, I will give you second stimulus checks right now. Come back to town, and I'll also throw in money for the post office. Now, why does this become so strange for purposes of hazard pay? Well, it's strange and good, but also what the hell? It's really good because suddenly the movement to get the second stimulus package done deal is more at issue because congressional leaders, and these are Democrats, both Senate and House, are being urged by their counterparts to return to town and get back to work to get the second stimulus package approved. Whether or not it's, dissected into separate bills or done as one full bill. And the urgency to get this done is being anchored by what people are perceiving as a scandal at the most enormous significance right now, right here, that has to be addressed. Isn't it strange how, like, on a Sunday afternoon, we thought we'd just have our feet in the pool and our Mai Tai in our hand, we're just going to sit back and say, Fox News was right, we're not doing anything on stimulus checks until September. Oh, no. We're not only doing a lot, we literally have like pages and pages. It took me like a few seconds before I even had to record to figure out how do I explain this USPS clearly, because it is so friggin' ass complicated. This is a complicated story, and no one wants to hear about the post office and stamps on a financial channel where we're waiting for our stimulus checks. It's like we got to hear another problem. Like, how many problems do I have to hear in a given day? This one's a big problem, but it's a good problem perhaps because it's anchoring a vote for your second stimulus package. Mark Meadows is urging the second stimulus package to be done now. But Nancy Pelosi is seeing that as not a good thing. Why? It's a little bit hard to explain this one as well. She now perceives, and the Democrats now perceive, that Mark Meadows is trying to just throw money on the post office to not have a clear inquiry whether operations have been modified so that mail is not delivered. One thing is to throw money at the post office. Here's more money for people to work. Another thing is, why are you closing facilities? And that has nothing to be tied to money, but it is part of the second stimulus package. Democrats claim that it's tied to fundings. Republicans claim it was already planned. But Why was this planned 80 days before the election? Democrats have proposed $1 billion for mail services. The Republicans say they'll give money, but is it $80 billion? Or is it, another $250,000? Trump originally said he wouldn't support a penny. Now Mark Meadows says they will. And says he'll support it as a funding with the second stimulus check. Oh my goodness. How many Advil have you popped yet in this video? Are you on the second one yet? Are you on the third Advil? I mean, it's just... And then there's always that person. Can you send me the link so I can read the story? This is literally 5 news articles put together. I mean, this is not memorialized in one news article. It is not, this is not... Jackie Collins would have put it in one book very well. I mean, she would start chapter 1, because it is a Roman novel. It literally is a Roman novel at this point. There are 700 high-volume mail processing machines that have been removed, especially in Missouri and swing states, that any presidential candidate needs to win. There's been removal of letter collection boxes. There's mail arriving later than indicated to be sorted. There's most overtime not being permitted, so mail delivery people are really stopping and not delivering mail. And post office operations have been closed even early to midday. Then you're sitting back and saying, when am I getting my $10,000 hazard pay, LALATE? I used to be able to answer that very easily. Oh, when the bill is signed into law, that's when you get your hazard pay, copy, paste, copy, paste. No, now I have to explain, well, there's this thing called Inspector du jour, and it's du jour, and this is the scandal du jour, and I'm only here at, it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Give it 2 more hours, there'll be 5 more scandals. It literally is insanity right now. Earlier this week, I reported that your second stimulus check and hazard pay was being held up because of the bailout of states. This afternoon, everyone is now confirming it's no longer the bailout of states, it's now the Postmaster General. Who knows what it's going to be in the next 3 hours. I love and adore the viewers of this channel because now they are educated, they're savvy, and they're skeptical because now they realize the following things are happening. 1, these people can't keep a story straight for 2 hours. They literally change their story every 2 hours, these politicians. 2nd, the scandals are literally changing by the minute. 3, the people can't keep their positions consistent. The president one day says he's not going to provide a penny to the post office, and the next minute Mark Meadows says we'll give you money for the post office. And all this is sort of the answer to the long answer to your question. When am I getting my $10,000 hazard pay? Ask Inspector du jour at his hearing, because that's now your hazard pay is tied up to a guy named Louis DeJoy, and whether or not DeJoy will appear before Chuck Schumer or Chuck DeJoy Schumer at a congressional hearing on August 24th. If you're not enjoying enough of this channel, jump onto Chuck Schumer's Twitter feed and watch his threats on DeJoy, who no one really, I've never even seen a picture of DeJoy. I mean, I had enough of Javita Carranza. I have another inspector to deal with. Tomorrow will be Inspector Clouseau, then Inspector Gadget. I mean, how many more inspectors can be added to this channel? This is not the stamps channel. Lick Nancy in the front and slap it on a stamp and send it to return to sender. I just, it's just crazy. Hazard pay is $10,000. That would land in your bank account if this bill was passed, based upon the number of hours you worked in the pandemic all the way up to the present. $13 an hour includes overtime, partial time, any type of hours you worked. The calculation is based upon $100,000 of 2019 earnings or less. If you made more than $100,000, you get $5,000 per under the hazard pay bill. It would land as a lump sum. If you haven't reached that threshold, you will get the money thereafter. See how nice I can do this really quickly if I have to. Who are essential workers? They're generally defined as anyone that was frontline, but includes everything from grocery stores, includes pharmacies and drugstores and convenience stores, shipping and handling, and drivers and Uber and Lyft, all that wonderful things. And the areas that are not clear are simply delineated in the bill. And the worst part of the bill is that the bosses apply for the job, not money, not you. There we go. It's Saturday afternoon. And, give it a couple more hours and we'll have another scandal ready for you. I mean, I just, yeah. The purple wonder does not always delivers. As always, join me. Do me a favor. Do me a big ass favor. Go to the front of this channel and hit that darn subscribe button, hit that alert button. I mean, this is just, there's going to be a scandal in the next 10 minutes, so I have to alert you when there's, it's not the de joy, it's the Grey Poupon scandal. And go into the comments. He's not drunk. Is that LLA drunk? I am not drunk. And just, it's just like, enough already. Folks, just send out the friggin' checks. And then, if you're having problems getting alerts, drop into the sticky comments of this video, and there's an indication of how to ensure you get alerts from this channel. Coming up next is FPUC, which is a hot mess unto itself because there's no more money. It's just disappearing. Yeah, happy Saturday afternoon. It's just all the crap is hitting the fan. And just, I'm here, you're here, but where will be Inspector Dishoy in a couple days? As always, stay informed, stay motivated, and stay smiling in the state of LA for more.